Hey guys, it's Alex Martin from the Sidewalk Science Center at the Bradenton Riverwalk, and today I'm kind of going to talk about the astronaut launch that was supposed to happen on Wednesday. Today I'll be uploading this on Friday, but now it's supposed to happen on Saturday, and if that gets scrubbed on Sunday, and if that gets scrubbed because the weather for the weekend over at Cape Canaveral is looking awful, I'm not sure when it's supposed to go up. I'll have to check with some people who do know. But those of you who might not know, there have not been astronauts launched from the United States since July 8th of 2011. That is almost 9 years ago. Astronauts have only been going up from Russia for the United States. China also has that capability, but in terms of the United States, we have been paying Russia somewhere on the order of $60 to $90 million per person to go up into space. We do this several times a year, so you can imagine how costly that gets. So this is why it's so important that SpaceX, the company headed by Elon Musk over in Hawthorne, California, with the rockets that launch themselves into the sky and then land back here on Earth, the only company having rockets land back on Earth in the entire world, it's so important that they are able to develop this human capability to put astronauts into space and into orbit on the International Space Station, because it brings the cost of space way down. So it's like, if you've heard this on the news, it's like if you fly an airplane and then you just trash the airplane after a single use. That's basically what any rocket company in the world does today, including NASA, including Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, including every other country with space capabilities. Once a rocket goes up, it is never used again. SpaceX uses their rockets again. And some of those rockets have been used up to, I think, 5 times now. I think there's one that's gone 5 times. So they are pretty reliable. And the ability to launch an astronaut into space and then bring that rocket back down doesn't mean that that same rocket is going to put more astronauts into space. NASA has a history of wanting to be really safe. So they, even though they do trust SpaceX to use boosters over and over and over again, they aren't going to put humans on those reused rockets for quite a while. But Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken are the 2 astronauts who were supposed to go up on Wednesday. Hopefully they'll go up on Saturday, hopefully maybe Sunday. Hopefully someday soon, because there's actually another crewed mission with SpaceX coming up in August. But both of these astronauts, Doug and Bob, have both been to the International Space Station before. And guess what? Both of their wives have been to the International Space Station before. All of these families, I guess, are astronauts, which is something seriously cool. So these 2, actually, Doug he was on the very last shuttle mission that took off in July. So Doug went up and came back in 2009, and now he will be the returning astronaut here 9 years later. So that's even a pretty cool historical moment, a nice milestone for him, something that's probably gonna hit home for him. But I hope you guys watch that. I hope you guys watch this return to American spaceflight, because it is just something so cool. It gives us the ability to reconnect with spaceflight, especially here in Florida, where we have the Space Coast. We can travel and watch rocket launches just as easily as anyone else, I guess more easily than anyone else in the country and even the world, because I think it's only something like 14 countries have the ability to even launch into space. So being in Florida, if that's where you're living right now, you have the ability to go to the Atlantic Ocean and watch a rocket launch people into space. Of course, with the pandemic going on, I highly advise against that. Even I drove out to Orlando, and I was going to try to go to the launch and keep my distance from people, but seeing those crowds, I'm glad I didn't go. I'm glad I just wasn't even in that position, because there were so many people, even though NASA is like, please do not come and watch this in person. But if you have the chance to watch it this weekend or whenever it does go off, it will be within the next week. Like, as soon as they get the all clear to launch, these astronauts are going to space. So this is something we haven't done. This is a new generation of spaceflight. Your kids, I don't have any kids, your kids, they haven't seen astronauts going to space. They have never felt the rumble of a rocket as people fly up into the sky toward the International Space Station. This is something even to me, this is something brand new. I never watched a shuttle launch. I never watched people go into space before. So to be able to witness this moment in history, this pivotal turning point where number one, the United States is putting people in space again, but number two, we have the capability to reuse rockets and drive down the cost of space, therefore making access cheaper so that places like high schools and colleges and even individuals can send projects and in the future people into space. There are a few missions where people will actually be orbiting around the moon, and we're hoping within the decade to begin building a base on the moon where we can begin scientific exploration, where we can begin a new type of engineering and manufacturing using new materials that have not been accessed here on Earth. Space is so important for a wide range of industries. Everything from the cell phone or the computer that you're using to Wi-Fi to GPS. That's what I'm trying to say, not words. Everything from, this technology to certain types of material for clothing to the way that we write with certain pens. This is all stuff that has been created in space. The economic output of space exploration and research in space is tremendous. The budget, every dollar you put in puts out something like $14 worth, I think that's what the ratio is. So investing in space exploration and putting people up there is a wonderful opportunity to get the economy flowing and to create new technologies and inspire a whole new generation of people that could one day go live on Mars. My hope, of course, is to one day go out to the moon and to put a telescope on the moon, actually, kind of like the one I have right here, and look back at the Earth. I think that'd be a beautiful thing, something that we've been doing for hundreds of years now, to be able to turn that around and take a look at our home world. So as these astronauts are prepared to launch this weekend, hopefully, cross your fingers, let's think about that, think about the future of humanity, and of course, to all our endeavors, because we have a future to create. I'm Alex Martin.